All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I hit it, but I guess I probably need to look at it a little bit better before I go live, because this is the second time that I did this. And actually, no, this is the third time I did this. And the last time I did it was actually my million subscriber live stream. So it was horrible. I should still not be live though. So let me just go and double check. Everything should be good. It's so stupid. I should have just checked to make sure that, yes, I have this going on. So anyways, we should be going though now. I have a delayed chat up here. So let me go and double check the other chat. Hopefully you guys are seeing. Yes, good sound. All right. Thank you so much. So anyways, hey, Christy. Hey, Mo. I want to let you guys know that, yes, Mo, one thing I talked about is welcome. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to start everything all over again now that I see all of you guys in there. And yes, you had 10 minutes. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian McLogan, and this is week number 109 for Open Live Q&A. And in this week, what I want to talk to you guys about is really kind of the frustrations, the stresses of learning with math. And yes, you can hate math or you could actually love math, but it's really, I think it's kind of comes along with like the learning process. And one thing I was talking about, I had another thumbnail I was going to use, but I didn't really want to like sensationalize like the stresses and frustration comes in, because it is really like real life that comes through. So one of the things I was mentioning when I was talking in there, I think what's really important, in the description, I said, hey, come and let's talk. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring up to this, let's bring in some of those questions onto the live stream. So I see Dr. Ninja, I see Christy, I see Rona, Yang, Nomad, come in, bring into those questions, whatever I can do to be able to help you guys out. But then also I wanted to let you guys know, on the Discord community, one of the reasons why I really wanted to build that community was for a place for students to be able to connect with other students that are going through the same things, right? And I think it's really, really important when students feel frustrated, when students feel like they want to give up in a math class, they have a teacher that is very difficult to learn. Online learning is it's very difficult for the teachers as well as for the students. And so there's a lot of learning curves. There's a lot of new things that are going on. There's a lot of changes. And I think it's really, really important that students have some sense of community or somebody that they can be able to talk to. And if you don't have, somebody inside your class or somebody next to you that's really easy, or even if you don't even want to talk to them, about certain items, that's one of the things that I think is the Discord is very important. So one of the things I was working on, which I didn't get my Stream Deck all ready for, but if there you have it. If you guys haven't joined already the Discord server, it's not just about math, even though that's the main goal is helping students with their math and you being able to get help with your math, but also there's different channels there for you to connect and ask questions. And if you're struggling with your math course, there's other people to support you, because I don't want anybody to feel that they are alone through this journey. One of the biggest tips that I always give students is when trying to learn math is don't feel like you need to struggle all by yourself. If you are struggling because, you just hit into a course that is more difficult than you're expecting, or you don't have any of your friends, or you transferred into a new school, or, this online learning you're just not connecting with it, or you're back into person and it's very stressful and everything else. Make sure you find some people that you can either study with, relate to, or vent with. And that's one of the reasons why the Discord community is, I think, also very important and very helpful for people to kind of feel that sense of community, even though you don't necessarily know everybody that's in the community. But I think it's really important as we're going through our journey to be able to feel like we're not alone, and because it can be stressful. And one of the reasons that I came up with this topic is, I see students that, they've made comments that, they want to give up on the math class. They don't want to try anymore. It's stressful. Why are we learning this stuff? It almost kind of feels like pain or torture. And I can relate. When I was actually typing out my email, it came right back to me. I was like, I remember exactly these feelings. I know exactly what it was. And sometimes it's even difficult as a teacher because you kind of get yourself separated from that. Because obviously being in the teacher shoes for, the last 14 years, even though I always kind of related to the struggling students, but sometimes it would just hit a different chord with you, and how a student would explain the stress and the frustrations and how they don't want to come to your class and how they would act out, when they're in the class, or talk back to you, or, whatever any of those things to kind of get out their feelings. And I think that I think it's really, really important for a couple things. One, that I want everybody to really know on this live stream, and it's really, really important. one is I think the way that a lot of times that we teach math, and this is actually one of the questions we're going to get into, that, we still teach math for like everybody going into an upper level mathematics. So I do think that there's a lot of importance that the math that we're obviously teaching and that we need to continue, but obviously there's a lot of restructuring that needs to take place. And I wish it would be an easier process, that we could easily make some adjustments, but just like anything else, there's going to take some time and there's going to be some debate and there's some changes and everything else. But in the end, the way we've been teaching math is, if we're creating generations of people that hate mathematics and that don't use the mathematics that they're learning on a regular basis, I think that just kind of opens up your ears of like, there's something that's not right there, right? There's some changes that we need to make. And again, I'm not for not teaching math or not everybody having to take math, but there's definitely some improvements, some changes that need to take place if we feel that it's acceptable or people feel it's acceptable to hate mathematics, right? Or to feel like they're not good at mathematics. So that's number one. I don't think it's everybody's fault. Don't blame the teacher and everything else when you feel like you're struggling with mathematics. I think there's a lot that's already inherently making it difficult for people to be successful in math. Number two is, again, like those belief systems, like believing that you're not good at mathematics or believing that it's acceptable not to be good at mathematics. That's hurting students as well. That's just adding to your frustration and your stresses. Like you believe that people that are good at math, like they're just naturally good at math, right? And then it makes you feel like, why am I so stupid if I can't understand something as easily as them? And that's not the case. I don't believe for one instance that there are math people and non-math people, and that people just have a natural gift and that's why they are good. Now, obviously, there's, of course, some natural gifts that are going into it. But as far as your success in mathematics is, I don't believe that there is just people that are just inherently just so much better and get everything right. And that's why you are feeling, and that's why you're struggling. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, which is probably the most important thing that I've said multiple times, but I'm just going to leave it here on the stream. And then I do have a ton of math questions we got to get into, but please always remember, and this is for all those students that are strong in mathematics as well, because eventually they get to a place where, they might struggle or they feel a lot of stress and the frustration. But please remember, guys, math is not a race. There is no, it's okay if it's something is taking you a little bit longer to understand. It's okay if something's taking a little bit longer to be able to complete, right? It's not a race. You have, I'm planning on taking a lot more math classes or, at least learning more math, right? And I'm a grown man. I've already taught school and gone through school, but I want to go back and continue learning mathematics. All right. Now, obviously we have tasks, we have end of courses and blah, blah, blah. Right. But don't go so hard on yourself if you're not learning at a certain pace compared to like somebody else. Right. So it's not a race. And also there's no teacher, there's no grade, there's no class. If you fail, get a D, a C, whatever is the worst circumstance that you can think of that's ever going to define who you are and what you're capable of. So I know that sometimes guys, failing a class, failing a test, being frustrated with your teacher, not feeling like you understand this class, all these feelings can feel overwhelming and it can feel like you just don't want to show up to class the next day and you want to talk back to your teacher and you don't want to talk to your friends about it and you just want to avoid the whole situation. But please remember, the best you can do is just do your best and then move on. And there's always going to be further opportunities that you can provide yourself for. So don't put everything just on on one test grade or class or teacher and everything else. So that's all I want you guys to do is to do the best you possibly can and then move on from there. So hopefully that was a little bit of help if you were at all hate math or don't understand why you have to take those courses, or learn some of this stuff and it's frustrating and it's stressful. I just want to give you a little bit of positive note that it's not all your fault. Do the best you could possibly do. Find some people, either friends inside your classes or, family members or a community online, and then do the best you possibly can. And it's okay. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have failures, but keep on moving forward and just, have your main goal in sight and work from there. So, all right. That is all I had from you guys today. I'll say hello to you guys just go ahead and check in if you guys have any questions inside the chat. Probably do for maybe like another 10 more minutes. And then I did not get to, if you guys remember last week, for those of you on last week, I was not able to get to a lot of questions. And then, so if you're interested, if you have math questions, just a reminder, On the math questions, guys, if you do have math questions, feel free to, you can go to Brian McLogan. Oh, that's the Discord, not that right now. But if you do have questions, why is it not working? It's kind of annoying. I might be able to do this. Wait a minute. Oh, no. There we go. So if you do have any math questions you guys like me to answer on my live stream, then go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. And these are the questions that I'm able to get to on the live stream. So I'm not able to get to every single question on the live stream, as some of you will see. But any questions that I am not able to get to that you still need kind of help with, you have tests, you have quizzes, you have exams coming up, then you guys can definitely go ahead and go to the Discord server. And that's basically we have channels separated by by classes, and you can, provide some questions and then as well as answer some questions with some other students, help them out from there. The other thing I wanted to mention to you guys, also for pre-calculus students, I am doing a bonus live stream. Now, this is not a live stream like this. This is actually in a Google Meet. So it's a much more kind of intimate setting. And we just kind of go over what are problems you guys are working through. So you can pre-submit questions. You can ask questions to me directly. It's kind of like a class format. There's only 30 people that I'm allowing in. So therefore, to keep it very small and kind of moving on. So if that is something you are interested in, that you would, that you're taking pre-calculus and you'd like to answer, it is on this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I had a few people that registered last month, and then didn't show up. And that's not really fair to the people that are going to make sure they show up. So I can only ask if you're going to be there. It is limited spots, but please make sure if you're going to plan on being there, then sign up and then go from there. But, just taking up a seat and then not showing up, that's not cool. All right. Marcus says, I find non-Euclidean geometry really interesting. What other math classes are there that dabble in it? I don't remember. It's been a while since I was in my upper level math classes from on there. But I was trying to think. I think it was really my geometry course. I remember in the non-Euclidean geometry, that was really all I remember from there. Yes, Maddie, I will. Oh, I'll post it. Yeah. It's also in the description, Maddie. If you just go in my description, you'll see that exact same link is there. So you can do it from there. That is 19. Why are they still showing up? Sorry, I got to close those out. Okay, close that out. There you go. 19. All right, let's see. Do you have any advice for finishing a test quickly? Because I have a midterm on Monday and I got a 5.5 out of the questions wrong, and I got a 59 on only the first part, but I took another test that does not affect the grade, and we had no time limit and the same questions, and I got the questions I'd gotten wrong before right. I have no idea. I had the same questions and I got the I don't know. I think the main thing is if you're trying to finish a test early or, quickly, I think a couple tips I can just give you, look at whenever you're reading a question, try to look at if it's a multiple choice, look at the answer choices. It's a free response. Look at how the question is being built up. And then usually that can kind of give you a head start and what process, what theorems, what applications you're going to be using. From on there, a lot of times multiple choice, looking at the answer choices, a lot of times you can quickly identify or eliminate your answer choices from there. That's usually help from there. But, I've never really had to think about trying to get it as quickly as fast as possible. So it kind of caught me on that one. I'm not really 100% sure what I would recommend. And hey, Nomad, doing very well. Would you say trig transformations is ever used in calculus? Yes, you're going to want to know your transformations for sure. Trig transformations, it's just the basic understanding of, how a function is being transformed based on those transformations, as well as function notation. It's just going to be very important knowing the different transformations and how they're impacted. So yes, I would definitely say knowing your transformations is going to be helpful. I can't think of a particular problem or remember doing one like trig transformations, but I would not just avoid it from on there. Hey, Gabe. I am not sure. I believe the advanced functions in the Canadian, which I'm not just familiar with as far as on the advanced function. So I'm sorry, I don't really have any more information. Did you like Calculus 2? I'm taking it right now. We're going over integration techniques, but it's fun, challenging because there are many techniques and strategies too. Yeah. I took Calc 2 when I was in college, and I don't really remember much of it. The one thing I do remember was it was one of the first courses where I actually got like a study partner. And no, that was in Calc 1, but in Calc 2 is like we really like studied well together, and we would do everything. Like we met up like twice a week and after school, and we would study and that was one of my first classes where I like struggled, but it was so helpful to have somebody with me to to bounce ideas off, explain things. Like when I understood something, he could help out. When he understood something, he helped out. Like it was just a really good communication that we had, kind of going through the system. So that is all I really remember from on there. I do remember there's a couple times where I like was struggling, but I don't remember like what parts or anything like that. I have no idea, unfortunately. Oh, thank you, Christy. That's so nice of you. If you have 2 exams in 1 week, how do you study when you have a load of assignments too? Yes, that is definitely hashtag college life. I think it all really comes down to, Christy, is the idea of, you got to just set time limits. And this is something that I'm really bad with too. Like I have a ton of things that I want to do each and every day and each and every week. And so, creating those times like, hey, I'm going to spend 30 minutes doing this, and I'm going to spend an hour doing this. And you just, time block that. And, you got to be very efficient within those time blocks and then move on to the next thing. And I think it's also important to know, like, obviously the more time ahead that you can, plan and prepare for your exams is better. So therefore you don't feel like you have to spend so much focus and attention on them, and being able to still do those assignments, because assignments are kind of like easy points, right? I mean, comparatively to like an exam, which is like a lot more stress and a lot more work to prepare. But I would, I think just really just kind of getting some time, like trying to do, rather than spending like one day on one exam, preparing for one exam, and another day preparing for another, I would just focus on like splitting it up, and then also, splitting it up so every single day you're doing something of everything. And then, yeah, it's like, waking up a little bit earlier, stand up a little bit later, changing what you do. Like I remember exam season. I mean, you just gotta like, it's when you're in exam season, it's not like the other seasons, right? You're gonna have to just suck it up and put in more work and effort and time into it. And the good news is once you're done, you're done. So just kind of think about that way and saying like, all right, it's preparing for the big game, right? And you got to do everything you got to do to put that in there. And then once it's done, it's done. And hey, Arif, how are you? I do not have any information on data management, or at least nothing I'm aware of. Transforming trigonometric identities. Yeah, I mean, I think it really just kind of takes practice. When you're dealing with identities, the more practice with identities you can do, the easier and faster and quicker it gets done. Oh, well, awesome, Gary. That's awesome. Love it. Wow. Good one. Questions. Out of all the units you've ever taught across all courses, what is the unit you found to be the hardest for students? I think I answered this question recently. I can't remember what it was. I know that students, usually like geometric proofs, I think is still probably one of the most difficult things for students to be able to understand. Now, obviously geometric proofs gets kind of like spread around in geometry. It's not necessarily always taught like in one chapter, but I think definitely geometric proofs is one of those more difficult things for students to kind of get used to and be able to solve. Why am I not getting sound? I don't know. I think everybody else said I was doing good. At least so. Denver says, when it comes to unit circle, do you only really need to know the ratios of the first quadrant to know what the second and third and fourth are? Yeah, because if you just think about the first quadrant, everything is just being flipped, right? Flip to the second, flip to, if you just think about you could think about rotation, or I like to think about it as like flipped. So flipped across the y-axis, flipped across the x-axis, and flipped across the origin. And basically, if you look at the coordinates, they're all the same. The only thing that changes is the positive and the negatives of the coordinates, right? So, I mean, the coordinates are exactly the same. It's just some are positive, some are negative based on which quadrant they are in. I am definitely one in more into pure mathematics. So I am not a big applied mathematician at all. So yeah, I think it is. And, just, I don't know, seeing the application has never really gotten to me. And that's why a lot of times I kind of push back when people are like, oh, people need to see how it's applied or people need to see how it's used in real life. And that's not the way that really interests me. So, I know for a lot of students, like they want to see how is this useful? What am I learning? Why is what I'm learning important, right? And with pure math, it's a lot different, right? It's a lot more vague from that point of what we're doing with the pure mathematics. So that's not something that interests me. That's not something that motivates me. I hated physics. I hated doing the application part. Like it's not something that was enjoyable for me at all, which a lot of people are like kind of weird. And it's like, but pure mathematics is exactly what I love. Like that just once I kind of like found that difference, I was like, oh, this is what I'm really interested in. But it took me to being in college before I understood that difference and then knew there was a whole branch of mathematics where I could like further investigate into that. From come with the star. Oh, I'm going to come into some trig identities. Yeah. I mean, I think actually, I have a video on that. Where is Addie when I need her? I think I just did a video on adding identities, tips with identities. Dude, the only one this is so funny. I've never been able to. I literally just made a video on tips for trigonometric identities. So I don't know if you've been on my channel or not, but it was just kind of funny. I'm like, hey, actually, I made exactly a video for that, and then I have a whole bunch of more examples for you. I think besides like my tip video that I did create, I think one of the important things that you could, definitely look into is, which I also wanted to mention to you guys. Don't forget we're doing another giveaway for our tutoring, right? So don't forget about that as well for you guys. So I'm actually just going to point in, I don't know if somebody else found it, but crap, why am I talking so much? I got to get through my math problems. What I think will we get to it? I want to show, 4 tips for simplifying trigonometric identities. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, just a reminder, guys, after, at the end of the stream, we will do a giveaway. Remember, I think for this one, actually, I'm going to, I'm going to take a look, see if anybody did, but yeah, at 10 o'clock, we're going to go and do the giveaway. So I'm going to try to get through as many questions as I possibly can before that 10 o'clock version. But yeah, I will do another giveaway. You know what? For this time, let's just do hashtag math help on last week's live stream. So we'll just keep it the same. But the only one, don't forget, I don't know if somebody else typed it in there, but I will type it in there. There you go. I just typed in a one for you on that. Hopefully that is helpful for you. So that was, I think I did it like last week or 2 weeks. That kind of goes through some tips, but then also I have a whole bunch of examples for you as well on that. All right. How do you know what factor method you use for a factoring problem? I mean, look at usually the coefficients a lot of times, when you're looking for special, make sure you know your special factoring techniques. For trinomials, I'm not really sure which different factoring method you're referring to. But obviously, if it has a coefficient in front of the quadratic term or it doesn't, then that's going to be that's going to change how you're going to impact that. I love Mr. Chadwick. Yeah, I want to walk back through the halls of Mandarin High School, and we'll see. But yes, I know Mr. Chadwick. He is. He's the real deal. He's putting you through some work. So I've known him back in the day when I was, teaching the same course with him, and then when he wasn't. So I know he puts he's a strict teacher in the fact of like he holds you accountable for understanding the material. And I know sometimes that can be difficult, especially in these last 2 years that we've kind of had with the online learning. Like, it's been difficult. And so, but I know that, I know one thing about Mr. Chadwick is if you go ahead and talk to him, and just like with any teacher, he wants you to be successful. And so I know a lot of times people would complain about him or about any other teacher, right? Thinking like there's, he's out to get you, and he doesn't, he's just doing this doesn't want you to, be whatever else. But in the end, the teacher he wants you, and other teachers want you to be successful. So I think it's the main thing is like trying to, rather than thinking like you're against him or he's against you, really trying to see like what is it you need to do to succeed and to do the best you can possibly in this class. But I would love to head back into Mandarin high school, maybe even sub for him one day. That'd be awesome. I think a lot of people do. Yes, I would definitely. No, come on. Yes, I would definitely highlight that. As far as getting ready for pre-calculus, I think I have the my getting ready for pre-calculus. Are you ready for pre-calculus in the description? I would highly recommend go ahead and checking that out. It's absolutely free, and you can go ahead and check that out for to be able to kind of get a brush up in for pre-calculus. That's the reason why I created that for you to get ready for pre-calculus. So, well, thank you very much. Are there sine and cosine equations that just can't be graphed by hand? I mean, everything can be graphed by hand. It depends on like how neatly, I guess, you want everything to kind of be. What the heck? Come on. So weird. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't really spend a lot of time graphing trigonometric functions like very, very detailed wise. I just do everything's pretty like just basic, pretty vague. All depends on where you're coming from. Not anything different with differential equations or any other math class really. People always ask me for like different methods. I mean, besides geometry, I think mostly everything else is like, obviously do the work that's been prescribed by your teacher. When you start to struggle, like get help either by a friend, a tutor, or go to the teacher. And also I think just doing extra practice problems and try to do something daily. Right? A lot, even if you have the class daily, like make sure you're doing something daily, even if it's homework, doing something extra, but I think practicing extra problems, practicing harder problems is going to help you prepare, be better prepared for the assessments. Is discrete functions all about pattern and sequences? I think it depends on all the topics, but I mean, if you look at a discrete mathematics book, like, yeah, there's a lot and that's with math too, is patterns and sequences in reality. But yeah, it's not all sequences, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like pattern recognition for sure. Yeah, I do not. I would just say get a practice math book and do as many practice examples as you possibly can. Awesome. You are very welcome. So, I mean, it's, how do you do? I mean, there's, that's a pretty vague question, but if you have anything specific, again, guys, just a reminder, if you do have any specific questions that you have math questions on, then just feel free to go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. And that is where all the questions I'm about to get into in like a couple minutes, I will go through. So if you have specific questions, math questions, go over there. If I'm not able to get to your math questions, but you still do want to like submit a question or get help in your math, or you want to connect to some other students because you are frustrated, you do hate mathematics, you are stressed out with your current math courses, then definitely go ahead and head over to the Discord server where you can not only ask questions, get help from people, you can also help other students with their math, and you can also connect with other students that are kind of going through the same kind of process you are with online learning or going back to school and everything like that. And then also, just might as well, since I'm going through all of these, for all you pre-calculus students, if you want to join my Wednesday live stream, it is a private and free live stream that I'm doing this Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And seats are limited, so please only sign up if you are planning to attend. Because I want to make sure that students can go ahead and submit questions. We can, answer your questions, help you do some math, whatever we can possibly do in 45 minutes to help you guys with your math. So, and Algebra 2 will be doing next week, but I'll have a link for that later. And then also remember, guys, at 10 o'clock, I am going to stop the stream. We're going to do a giveaway from that. So I got to get into these math, but I want to say hi to a couple of you guys real quick, and I'll answer some of these questions. Trig identities are pretty difficult for students. I'm not teaching either Calc 2 or Calc 3 right now, but I did taught Calc 1 for a couple years. Yes, exact same advice I gave before from there. So you have a teacher that doesn't help much with any of the work. What should I do to learn the problems easier? Yeah, I mean, you got to find some alternative solutions, right? Unfortunately, I wish everybody could have the best teacher that helps them learn, makes them feel motivated and everything else. But in the reality is like, we're not always going to interact with everybody, and everybody's different, right? What might be a great teacher for somebody might be a horrible teacher for somebody else, right? That's why some people are like, they're like, oh, I hate Chadwick. Somebody's like, oh, I love Mr. Chadwick. Like, everybody connects with the different teachers differently. So, it's just, it's not realistic to always feel like there's going to always be a perfect teacher. So you got to be able to, find somebody that you can find some resources, find another teacher, some groups of students that can help you and that you can connect with to help you learn the information. Can you read the graph of domain and range? I mean, if you submit a specific question, it's a lot easier to kind of go off of. I will do a problem though that does have domain, so I'll try to do my best on that. Do binomials trying to no come from quadratics? I'm not sure what that really means. Yeah, whatever. You got it. Okay. Hello from Jamaica. Just saying thank you. Well, you are very welcome, Doreen. I mean, it definitely could be. It all depends on how the marks are, how everything's being graded, right? And I'm not saying like a vague graph. I'm just saying like I like to plot points, right? Certain points, but not like every single point like perfectly done. So I mean, it all depends on what is the expectation, right? My favorite math class would probably be pre-calculus and geometry. Those are kind of like the two that I did enjoy, or enjoy like teaching probably the most. Well, you're very welcome, Ryan. Not today, but if you have any questions, feel free to keep on posting them in there. Well, thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate that. And yes, I understand. Going back, not everybody's going to be able to get through each and every one of teachers for sure. Well, you're very welcome, Mark. Not really specifically on the SAT. I mean, obviously I do have some SAT. We'll be probably doing some problems or some more videos on it, but it's not really my main focus just because, it's just a test. I don't think obviously I think there's some merit to it, but I don't think it's an end all be all from on there. I don't understand what exactly that means. Do they come from quadratics? I mean, a quadratic is, you can have a quadratic that is a monomial, a binomial, and a trinomial. That is correct. If you have a quadratic that is you're not going to have a quadratic that would be a polynomial with 4 terms. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. But you can have a binomial that's a cubic. You could have a binomial that's a quartic. So no, it's not all binomials and trinomials are quadratics, if that's what you mean, if they come from them. And yeah, Dana, I would definitely recommend, like, if you have questions on the SAT, ACT, like, feel free to post them in there. There's definitely going to be some students that have already taken it or have some experience with that. I do have some SAT, ACT like reviews, but it's just not, or like videos that I made on problems. And I probably will do some more examples. I just haven't really found time yet to be able to do it, but it's just not really a main focus of mine right now. All right, guys, let's, before we get to the giveaway, let's get into some math. So just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, so to do the giveaway, again, all last week's live stream, so you can just go back to last week's live stream, and then we'll just type in math help. And the cool thing is, don't put it in the chats, because in the chat's not going to help you at all. You have to literally like open up another tab, go to last week's live stream, and then type in math help. Okay. That's the way that works. Now, the other cool thing about that is not many people do it. So I think the odds of people getting free tutoring from last week has been like out of 8 comments, right? Pretty awesome. So if you are looking into like getting just a tutoring, it's only 30 minutes with me. I'll jump on a call with you on Google Meets and just answer whatever questions you guys have. And if you don't want to spend 30 minutes, that's cool. If you need a little bit more, usually I can try to help you out with as many questions as we possibly can fit in. But I do time it. I do try to at least get my time close to when my family gets home, because then like my kids are home and my house gets crazy. So there's not much you can really take away from me at that time, because they'll barge into the room and we won't be able to do too much help. So, all right, I'm going to move this screen over here. And now let's get into some math. what we got here. I mean, there's a lot of questions because we didn't get them from last week. You can see, right? Oh, there you go. A lot of questions. All right, I'm going to try to do these as quickly as possible. Oh, actually, I didn't look at that one. Okay, so first one is getting this into reduced row echelon form. 2 equations, 2 unknowns, check your answer. I don't know what their answer would be, but I can also immediately look to go from here to here. Come on, don't do that to me. Okay, to go from here to here, if you just multiply by -2, you're going to get the exact same answer, right? So if I multiply this by -2, watch this. All right, thank you, Christy. And since you get a super chat, I'll definitely make sure I go and get it. Check in too. So if you go and get this out, you're going to get a, come on, you're going to get a -6 x plus a 4y equals a +2. So whenever you have 2 equations that are exactly the same, it doesn't matter what your x and your y are going to have. You're going to have an infinite many solutions. Now, that's not what the student was asking. They want to do the reduced row echelon form. So when we're doing reduced row echelon form, you want to have the x's, y's, and then your number. So we're just going to write this as a 3, -6, -2, 4, -1, and 2. And basically what we want to be able to have this down is we want to get this into this format as we want this to be like this. 1, 0, 0, 1. And then whatever these 2 values are going to be, right? And that's going to be like your x and that's your y, whatever those values are. So that's what we're looking for. We're getting to these, or I'll just leave these open because we don't know what these are, but that's what we want to be able to find. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to get this to be a 1. But before we get to this 1, we're going to want this to be a 0. So to get this to be a 0, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 2 times row 1, and then I'm going to add that to row 2. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by 2. And then I'm going to add it to row 2. So when I do that, like row 1's remain the same. So that's a negative. So that's a 3. Crap. -2. And actually, it's been since college since I did this. So I really apologize if my explanation is bad. But it seemed like a decently easy reduced row echelon problem. But I've never actually gone through this in like high school level. Even though I remember actually learning this when I was in high school. And then when I add it, so this becomes a 6. That's going to be a 0. That becomes a 0. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus -6 is 0. 2 times -2, right? Because you're multiplying 2 times row 1. So 2 times -2 is a -4. -4 plus 4 is 0. And then 2 times -1 is a -2. -2 plus 2 is going to be a 0. And therefore, now we just need to get this to be a, if we are going to go and get this to be a 1. So to be able to get that a 1, I'm just going to do multiply by a 1/3 times row 1. And when doing that, I get a 1, -2/3, and I don't even know if we need to do that, but -2/3, and then this would be a -1/3, and that's 0, 0, 0. And again, my last row is all zeros, and since I only have one other row here, I'm going to have an x and a y, and that's why we have that infinite many solutions from on there. However, I do apologize. I definitely need to brush up on the going through all those and more examples, which I also hopefully look forward to having more coming up on my channel. So what value of x would make triangle PQR similar to UTV? Okay, so if something is similar, that means they are going to be proportional, okay? So a couple things we can do. So we can say PQ is going to be proportional to UT. So PQ, that one's this one, is proportional to 2, but we don't have any from there, right? So that's fine. But we can say PR, that's going to be proportional. So proportional to, what we have, UV. So let's go and set this up. So PR. So PR over, PR is to, a PR is the same thing as to UT. So let me just write this on. Oh, come on. Stop. Okay. So I could say PR is to UV is the same here as we could say RQ or QR is going to be QR is to TV. All right, so let's go and see what we have here. So PR is going to be a 14, and UV is going to be an x plus 6, and that's going to be equal to a QR, which is going to be an 8, and that's going to be to TV, which is an x minus 3. Okay, so then we can now go ahead and apply the cross product here, which I hate cross multiplication, but we'll just go and apply the cross product. Distributive property, so it's a 14 times x minus 3 is equal to an 8 times an x plus 6. Distributive property, you get a 14x minus 14, that's at 28, that's going to be what, 42, equals 8x plus 48. And then let's get the x to the same side, so we'll subtract an 8x, subtract an 8x, that's going to be what, a 6x minus 42 equals a 48, add a 42, add a 42, that's going to be 10, 80, that's a 90, so 6x is equal to a 90. Divide by 6, x equals, let's say 6 goes into 60. That's going to be 10 times, and then looks like then it goes an extra 30, which would be 5, so that's going to be a 15, which is that answer right there. All right, the next one says prove the identity. So main thing you need to recognize for this one is the we need to know the double angle identity for sine. Why did I not give enough space for this? And the cosine identity, which crap. Do I remember it? 2 cosine? Yeah, I think I remember. Okay. So anyways, this one's going to be, let's go and work this out. So I have a sine of theta plus, so the double angle formula is going to be a 2 sine of theta cosine of theta divided by a 1 plus cosine of theta. Now I'm going to rewrite a cosine of 2 theta as I believe that, let me put this in parentheses just so you can recognize that's what I did there. Then this one's going to be a 2 cosine squared of theta minus 1. Okay, and again, this is supposed to equal tangent, right? So I'm just going to leave this equals there, and we'll just have from there. Now, on the numerator, I can factor out a sine. So we'll have a sine of theta. When I factor out the sine, I'm going to be left with a 1 plus a 2 cosine of theta. And then over here, the 1s are going to divide out. And then I can factor out a cosine of theta. And what I'm left with is a 1 plus 2 cosine. Okay, and now you can see these are exactly the same. So therefore, we're left with a sine of theta over a cosine of theta. Why is it doing like that? There you go. And that is equal to a tangent of theta. Voila. All right, the next one is the difference quotient. So how to do the difference quotient. So remember, for the difference quotient, guys, we have the limit as h is approaching 0. And then we're going to have f of x plus h minus f of x. And that's all over h. Okay, so all we're going to do is replace our x with x plus h, and then we're going to subtract here. So when we write that out there, let's see, put it over here. So this is going to be what? A 2 times an x plus h quantity squared plus a x plus h minus 5. So that's my f of x plus h. And that's going to be minus. Now, again, whenever you have more than one quantity, make sure you're using parentheses or brackets. That's going to be a 2x squared plus x minus 5. Okay, and that's going to be all over an h. All right, so let's go ahead and I don't think I'm going to have room to simplify it, so we'll simplify it over here. So if I expanded that out, that'd be a 2, let's see, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Don't need parentheses here, so I can just write that as an x plus h minus 5. And then here, make sure you distribute that negative. That's a big mistake students will make. So this is a minus 2x squared minus x minus 5. Okay, and again, that's all over h. And now here, let's distribute this. And what can we cancel out? Can we cancel anything out? Yeah, we can get rid of the x's here. The 5s, that should be a positive. So those are going to divide out. And then we still have everything else here, though. All right, so then I get a 2x squared. Actually, you know what? Let's just forget that. Let's divide that out. So the 2xh's, or 2x squareds, those are going to divide out. And then now I'll be left with a 4xh. Yeah, 4xh, and then my h squared plus h. Oh, no, plus a 2h squared, and then plus h. I'm kind of skipping my r plus a 2h squared, right? And then plus h. Yes. Okay. So, and that's all over an h, right? And again, not really using my limit notation very correctly. That's all equal to a limit as x approaches h, right? Okay, so now I can go ahead and still, I can factor that out here. And so, oh, I'm sorry, not x, geez, come on. H equals 0. So as h is approaching 0, h is approaching 0. Limit as h is approaching 0. All right, so now I can factor out the h. So it's h times a 4x plus, why do I feel like I have this 2? That's an h squared. Yeah, okay. 2 plus a 2h and then plus 1. All over h. Those get divided out. As I go and plug that in for 0, that's going to be left with a 4x plus 1, which if you're just going to use your power rule, you can definitely see you're going to get 4x plus 1 because f prime of x using the power rule is take the power, bring it down, multiply it by the coefficient. That's a 4, subtract 1, so that's 4x, and that's just your coefficient plus 1. So you can see that is equal to that. Now, using obviously the power rule is a lot faster than using the difference quotient, but it is really good, especially for the algebra, to kind of practice and go through all that. All right, so in the diagram, P, Q, R, and T are, I don't know what that is, on the playground, such that QRT is 9 degrees. So QTR is 9 degrees. That's good. So they found that to be 9 degrees. And yes, that means that's 9 degrees, right? Because those are a linear pair. PT is 8 and PQ is 13. The student was asking, how do you calculate TQ? Well, again, let's just call this the height. Again, what you notice is you have a right triangle, right? So if I have like the two legs of a right triangle, I'm looking, and I already have we know, if we have the hypotenuse and the leg, then we can just use the Pythagorean theorem to find the other leg. So what I can say is 13 squared is equal to a 8 squared plus h squared. So this is a 169 equals 64 plus an h squared. Minus 64 minus 64. That's going to be 105 equals an h squared. So square root. H is equal to a square root of 105, which I'm not sure if you can simplify or do anything else from on there. All right, the next one is graph the function y equals a 3 divided by 4 times x minus h. And Christy, this is one question that you actually asked, or similar to it. So the student was saying, give the x and y intercepts, give the domain range. I think they're asking me to graph it too. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things. So, okay, so a couple things. X and y intercepts are fairly basic. If I want to find the x-intercept, then I know y is equal to 0, right? So just plug 0 in for y, and you're going to get 3 over, now this problem is actually not as nice, minus 2. So now what we're going to need to do is add a 2, and actually, hold on. No. Come on, what am I doing? Come on. Sorry, my computer is not liking that. There you go. Okay. So then I add 2 on both sides, and then now what I should have is a 2. Come on. Is a 2 is equal to a 3 over 4 times a x plus 4. All right, so now we got to get the x off the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by 4 times x plus 4 on both sides. Ooh, ran out of space. Let's put that in there. Okay, and again, that's already multiplied by 2, so I can technically multiply everything by 8, right? So that's going to be a 8x plus a 8 times 4 is a 32 is equal to a 3. So, right? Yeah, yes. Plus 2, 4, 8. Yep, looks good. And then you'll subtract a 32. 8x is equal to a negative 29. And divide by 8, and then x equals a negative 29 over 8. So that's the x-intercept, right? So that's a negative 29 over 8, comma, 0. Now, if I want to find the y-intercept, you just plug x equals for 0, right? So in this case, I have y equals a 3 divided by 4 times a 0 plus 4, then minus 2. So 0 plus 4 is 0. 4 times 4 is 16. So that's going to be y equals a 3 over 16 minus 2. Now, that's technically over 1. So if I want to get these fractions to be the same, I'm going to multiply by 16 over 16. So y is equal to a 3 over a 16 minus a 32 over 16. 3 minus 32 is going to be a negative 29. So y equals negative 29 over a 16. All right, and that can be written as a coordinate point of 0, comma, negative 29 over 16. All right, now I am running out of little space as far as graphing and whatever else, so let's go and talk about the domain. So remember, the domain is going to be all the values that makes the denominator equal to 0. Okay, so basically what we want to do is set the denominator equal to 0 and solve. So if I want to find the domain, the only thing I know I cannot have in this domain is my denominator equal to 0. So I'm going to say 4 times x plus 4 equal to 0. All right, and therefore you divide by 4. You have x plus 4 equals 0, minus 4, x equals a negative 4. So therefore, the domain is going to be all real numbers except for negative 4. And the way we can write that in interval notation is going to be negative infinity to negative 4, union negative 4 to infinity. That's a horrible infinity, but I wasn't looking at the screen. And then to find the range, which I'm like running out of space here, typically the best way is to be able to find the inverse and therefore calculate the domain from the inverse. But on this one, I know this is a rational expression where I know that there's a horizontal asymptote that is at 0 because, well, it's 0, but then it got transformed. So if you know your transformations and you know your parent graph, then you're in good shape here. You don't need to find the inverse. But if I just look at this function here, I have a horizontal asymptote at y is equal to 0. So my horizontal asymptote is at y equals 0, just for that function. Then I have my transformation of shifting it down 2. So the graph is going to be defined for all real numbers except for where the horizontal asymptote is in this example, right? Sometimes your range, sometimes you will have graphs that will pass over the horizontal asymptote. That's why it's important to find the inverse rather than just like guessing where what the horizontal asymptote is. But in this case, I know what the graph looks like and I know the transformation. So the graph does not pass the horizontal asymptote. So it's going to be all real numbers except for negative 2 because the graph was horizontal asymptote was at 0, but it got shifted down negative 2. So my range here is going to be negative infinity to negative 2. What am I doing right there? Come on. Actually, I'll probably go over a little bit longer. I'll do the giveaway at 10, but then I'll probably continue doing the math because I want to get done with these. Negative 2 union, negative 2 to infinity. Voila. All right. Remember, all the angles in a triangle guys add up to 180 degrees. So 55 degrees plus x plus 74 plus 54 equals 180 degrees. Right? So let's just combine our like terms. So I have my numbers. Let's combine those up. So 55 plus 54 is going to be 109 plus a 74 is going to be 109. So that's going to be 183. That doesn't make sense. What's going on here? 54, that's 109, right? And that would not work. Why would... I mean, I guess x, it doesn't say this is an angle, right? Just, it can be anything. X can be any number. It's kind of silly though, but whatever. So I'll just do it then slowly. So this is going to be, 183? Or not 183 degrees, but 183 plus x equals, 183 degrees plus x equals 180 degrees. So then subtract 180 degrees. Or 30 degrees, and x equals a negative 3. There you go. I looked at this graph, and I don't know if there's something wrong with the graph, but I was not getting these solutions at all. And I took this graph and typed it into Desmos, and it was not giving me this interval, so I don't know what you were doing. But what I did was I did it a couple of days. First thing, the easiest way to be able to identify when it's increasing is to find the derivative, which in this case, using the power rule, not using difference quotient, would be a -9 x squared plus a 22, x plus 8. And then what I did was I looked into Then what I did in this case was I looked into graphing this and finding the solutions of where it crossed. And basically, one thing I know from this graph is that it is a negative graph, right? So that means it's going to be pointing down. And I think since that's a negative, I'm going to have a positive as well as a negative solution. So it was looking something like that. And I can't remember what my solutions were, but it was not what was listed in here. And the main thing is, like, whenever your derivative is going to be positive, that's when your graph is going to be, that's when you're looking for your increasing, on your increasing values from in there. But I would double check with this graph. I just looked at it in Desmos and it was not increasing on that interval. Do you have any study to sustain focus during class? Get drinks of water. I would always tell students, like, hey, if you're having trouble, like, get a drink of water, like, move, right? Don't, a lot of times I doze off. A lot of times I get bored. Like, you got to keep things, I think, active. I think that was always a goal as, like, of a teacher, to, like, always try to keep your students engaged. The last thing you want to be doing is staring at your phone, because then you're not involved, right? And then you're going to forget and not listen to what the teacher was saying, and then everything's going to be lost. So be careful with that. But I think it is, I think it's really important to, you can try to learn a little bit more stuff like before class. So therefore you're a little bit more prepped, and therefore you're going to hear and look forward to when things are going to be explained or taught. That is a tip that I've used before to really kind of understand what's going on in the class. And then the other thing I think is just, know when their breaks are, know when you need to take a break or step away and stuff like that. And take advantage of it. All right. What is the period? So, oops. So remember on this one, guys, y is equal to a 10 secant of 8x minus 3. So that's a y equals. So remember the period for secant, cosecant, sine, and cosine is going to be 2 pi divided by b. Well, b is what is b multiplied by x. So in this case, it's just going to be 2 pi divided by 8, which reduces down to a pi over 4. Study tips, please. Make sure you do extra problems. Create a cheat sheet. So create a cheat sheet. Do extra practice problems, end of the book, or redo your test, redo your quizzes. Anything you got wrong, redo those problems. Make sure you understand how to do them correctly. And then also get a study group, get a study partner. Take advantage of that. Don't feel like you have to study alone. That's boring and difficult. All right, so let's go ahead and actually I'll finish this last one and then we'll go and do the takeaway giveaway. Yes. So can you review exponential logarithm graphs? Yeah, sure. Y equals e to the x. Come on. Yep, there you go. Looks like this. That has a intercept at 0, 1. And y equals ln of x, or y equals the log of x. If it was base 10, base 8, doesn't really matter. That is going to have a x-intercept at 1, 0. I don't know why I'm doing like that. This has a horizontal asymptote. This has a vertical asymptote. Okay, these are actually inverses of each other, meaning that they're actually reflected about the y equals x line. So if you flip them about the y equals x line, they're actually going to be inverses of each other. As far as transformations go, they have the exact same transformations, like y equals a times e to the bx minus c, and then plus d. Whereas this one could be y equals a times ln of b x minus c plus d. But the a, b, c, d are going to transform the graph all differently. The main thing here is obviously that the domain is unrestricted, but the range is only going to be positive values. Where here, the range is unrestricted, but the domain is only going to be positive values. That means you can only plug in positive numbers in for x. And what this means is for the exponential, whatever you plug in for x, you're only going to get y values that are positive. Okay, but ladies and gentlemen, it is 10 o'clock. So what that means is let's go ahead and do a giveaway. And if you have never done a giveaway with me before, this is not cool. If you've never done a giveaway with me before, then you need to know that last week, I went live at 9 o'clock, which I do every single Sunday night at 9 p.m. And all you simply need to do is go in the description, or not the description, but go into the comment section of that live stream and just go ahead and type in hashtag math help. That is all you need to do for hashtag math help. In last week's live stream, not on this one, and you go there. I am curious, what you are using a mouse to draw? No, my computer is like being really backed up right now. So I've just been loading up a lot with my videos. So I need to kind of download some stuff. So no, I'm using a Wacom tablet format there, but I'm getting a little bit of delay and lag on there. So that's why my graph is looking bad, because my computer is kind of pushing it to the limits. But so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that. Go to that live stream, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in through all the chat on for you guys, and then we will take somebody from there, and that'll win the tutoring. But again, as my computer is, that's what happens when you go through putting so much video for it and popping it to the, yes, thought I closed everything else. There you go. What person? Well, I mean, there's a lot with calculus. I mean, it all depends on what you're going into with your job. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of jobs that have a knowing a calculus background or using applied calculus is going to be very helpful. I feel like my math teacher is still giving us videos from 2007. Oh, that happens. Still an algebra one is, I don't know. You'll take more math, I guess. Oh, come on. Google's making me verify my ID right now. So hold on a second. Good question. If I wasn't a math teacher, what would I be? No, that was me. This is so annoying. It's not letting me use my... All right, this is interesting. I'm on live stream and I can't access my... It's not allowing me to do that. So I'm just going to close that down. Hopefully I don't need to jump off the stream. I don't know. I mean, the stream's going fine. It's just like making me upload that. But yeah, if I wasn't a math teacher, I'd probably think of maybe, I don't know. I always like to like draw and like architect, and like I did construction for a very long time. So actually when I first became a teacher, I came from like construction. That's what I do, like excavating and stuff like that. And I remember when I actually became a teacher, I took a pay cut for my construction career. And I was like, oh, really? I mean, I worked really, really hard in construction. So I was working overtime and stuff like that. But I still remember when I was like, dang, man, this is I mean, definitely a kind of shock. I was like, man, I was making just as much as I was as a teacher, you know, with not having to go to college and everything else, just being as a construction worker. And, you know, probably could have been making definitely more. If I would have stayed with construction, you know, being an operator and stuff like that. But also it was, I mean, I enjoyed teaching, you know, and like being an operator is fun for a lot of reasons, but it was also, you know, it's a drag. It's even though there's a lot that I enjoyed with it, it was also, you know, could be boring at times when you're just doing the same operation inside of equipment. And then also, you know, it's like, yeah, you're in the elements, you know, it's hot, it's cold. there's a lot of stress and stuff like that. Oh, God, come on. Why are you making me proceed when I am literally on a live stream? So annoying. All right, guys, I'm going to do this one more time, and then I might have to do 2 of them next week. I don't know. It's just so annoying. And I usually have no problem verifying my identity, but it's like giving me an error message. Okay, so all right, guys, no giveaway this week. I apologize for that, but next week we'll do it twice. That's the best I can offer for you right now because I don't know what's going on. So, and I still have a whole bunch of math problems anyways that we need to get through. So, all right, let's get on to it then. So finally, find the Circumcenter and the given vertices. So apologies for that, guys. But you can still go and do the math. I'm still going to do the math help from this live stream as well as last live stream. So if you already did it, don't worry. I'll still have you included. I don't think I have the coordinates on this, or I think I have gotten the coordinates on the slope, but I'm confused on how to plot this. Yeah. So basically what you want to do is, I have no idea. I guess we'll go from here. Right, so we have 4, 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, I'm just going to write this in because I don't have time for this. So basically, you want to plot all points. Right? So then what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to find the midpoint. Find the midpoint of each one. Actually... yeah, you're going to want to find the midpoint. Then step number 3 is you're going to find the slope. Okay. And then step number 4. So you're going to find the slope of each one. Actually, let's just do 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then -7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's call it J. 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. -3. What the heck? And then -6, 3. Oh, okay, so -6, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. -6, 3. Okay. All right, so. All right, and so then we have this one is L, and this one is K. Okay, so really we just need to, let's just go and find through that point. I don't have time for all this, but let's go ahead and try to do. So this slope, so the slope, so L, K, slope here, that's 0, right? So KJ, that's going to be undefined slope. And then we have LS, so the slope of LS is, let's go ahead and figure out, LJ. Where am I getting S? All right, so basically that's going to be the change in Y's over the change in X's. So that's going to be -3 minus a -7, which is going to be a +4 over a -6 minus 4 minus a 4, which is going to be a -10, which that can be reduced to a -2 over 5. No. That's not right. That's the L. -6, 3. Yeah, that's my J. Yeah, down 2 to the right 5. No, yeah, down 2 to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, that's right. Never mind. All right, then what we want to do is be able to find the midpoint. So a lot for the midpoint is rather kind of easy. Like from here, we can see that this midpoint is going to be between -3 and -7, which is going to be at -5, right? So my midpoint here is going to be, so for LK, my midpoint is going to be, so it's still going to be at a 4, right? So it's still going to be 4, but now it's going to be at -5, right? Because it's right in the middle. And then for LK, let's see, well, that's a what, a -6, and that's at a 4, so that should be at a Positive 4, so that should be at -2, right? Or negative, yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's only 6. And it's supposed to be a -1. Yeah, -1. So my midpoint for LK, KS, KJ. Come on, dude. There you go. And this one for LK, my midpoint, is that's going to be a -1, comma, what is that at? -3. And yeah, I can see exactly what you're talking about. And then for LS, then this one, we're actually literally going to have to be able to add these up. So why am I doing LS? I'm like, my brain is, I don't know why I keep on thinking that's an L. So LJ. Okay, so for LJ, then that one's basically going to be my adding these up to and then dividing by 2, right? So I have x1 plus x2, so 4 plus -2 is going to be -2 divided by a 2, which is going to be a -1. And then -7 plus -3 is going to be -10 divided by 2 is going to be a -5. So that's a LJ. Okay, so that's going to be a -1 comma -5. Okay, so I don't know why I just did this because you already had but I had to go able to see from here. So now what you're going to be able to do, so again, to find the circumcenter, basically what we're looking for is we need them to be perpendicular. So let's say -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might even be through on from those 2 points. Because basically what it has to be is it has to be perpendicular through each of these midpoints. So it's going to be 90 degrees. So once we know our slope, then what you can do is basically go ahead and write the equation of a line. So for this one's going to be pretty easy, right? Because this one is a vertical line. So that's just going to be an x equals, right? So x equals what? -1. Now, the other one is, now we just need to create another one. Let's do this horizontal one, right? So if this horizontal KS, that one goes through, yeah, these are going to connect right there. It's going to be easy. We actually didn't even do all this work. So KJ, this one has a, that has a slope of 0, but that midpoint is at, -5, right? 4, -5. Yeah, and that's going to be at y equals a -5, right? So when do these meet? Well, those are going to meet at a -1, -5. Right? And that's what we're looking for. Now, again, you could, like, the main thing is finding the slopes, finding where they're perpendicular, and then meet. And a lot of times it can be more difficult where you have to write the equation of the line, create the equation. But again, when you're creating the equation, all you're simply going to do is once you know the slope and a point, you can write the equation of a line. So once you know the slope and a point, you can write the equation. And then all you're simply going to do is put them in slope intercept form and then set them equal to each other and then solve for x and then solve for y, which is way more detailed than this problem. But hopefully my explanation made some sense, even though I did some math that was probably a little redundant for you. Do you think most stuff you learn in higher level math is completely useless to most people after high school? Yes, absolutely. Do you think we should change that? Yes, absolutely. It's very difficult though, because a lot of people are stuck on how they learned math, how they've taught math for years and years. But yeah, there's a lot of math that we teach that's completely pointless. Not pointless, but it's like, again, it's outdated. It's not needed. Like, we need to evolve with our current needs of a society and our current needs in higher education. Like, of course, people that are going into mathematics or mathematical fields still need some of that like mathematical knowledge, and it's very important. But there's also a large segment of our population that not saying we don't need to teach them mathematics, not by any means, but we should also, I think, be focusing on a lot other areas of mathematics than forcing everybody to be knowing so much of this, like complex numbers or, algebra and stuff like that. Like, I think there's I've seen too many negative implications that have been happening rather than the positives for a lot of students. And that kind of came into my stream as well, and I was talking about people being frustrated and stressed, and like, it's not like your fault. Like, a lot of times, like, you don't have the necessary don't have the necessary means to be able to understand some of the concepts, and you're just being forced to, like, you have to learn this or you're not going to graduate or you're not going to pass. And it's like, I can still be successful in life without knowing this stuff. You know, so we do need to do a lot better job of helping people be math literate, because I am completely against just like not teaching math, completely against that. We need to do a way better job of more people need to know way more math, but we got to be very selective on what we are requiring. And it has to be like reasoning behind it, you know, not just like you need to learn this math just to learn this math. Like there's, we need to kind of go, there's a lot we need to go through on the curriculum. How do you find 2% of any number? I would just find 1% of the number and then double it. So for instance, if I wanted to find like 2% of 50, like to find 1%, right? Here's the decimal point. So to find 1%, you are just going to go over there. So, you know, 50 cents or, you know, 0.50 is going to be 50% of, so 1% of 50 is equal to 0.50, right? So then if you just multiply that by 2, then you're going to say 2%. I don't know why I'm looking like that. A weird percentage should be that, but whatever. Okay. 2% of 50 is equal to 1. So just double it. So find 1%, move the decimal point over 2 spots, right? Move it over 2 spots, and then just double it to get 2%. How to find the amplitude period, vertical, horizontal shift, X and Y axis. All right, we're not going to graph it. I stopped teaching my students how to graph it a while ago, just because it's not a lot of things that students really need to know for the graphing portion. But I will talk about the graphs around there. So the amplitude is basically how high the graph goes up and down. Geez, we can do all these. All right, first thing, let's just go ahead and rewrite this. So y is equal to -3 sine of 2x plus 5. Okay. So the amplitude is going to be how high the graph is going up or down, the half distance between the max and the min. So right now, this -3 is stretching the graph up 3 and down 3, and then the graph is being shifted up 5. So even though it's going up to 3, it's been shifting up 5. So my amplitude, what am I doing? I was thinking about range. Sorry. So the amplitude is going to be, yes, it's going to be that stretch, how high and low the graph is going. So that's going to be a absolute value of -3, which in this case is just going to be a 3. The period is for sine is going to be 2 pi divided by b. So that's my a, and that's my b. So 2 pi divided by 2 is going to equal to pi. My vertical and horizontal shift. So since there's nothing going on inside my radical, there is no vertical shift, or horizontal shift, I'm sorry, but I do have a vertical shift, which is going to be +5. So a lot of students will get confused when it looks like this. That's why I rewrote it so it looks like this. So I can say my vertical translation, vertical shift, whatever, is going to be a up 5 units. And then shift an X and Y axis. Horizontal shift and X, I'm not really sure what that means. Let's go and look at number 2. So number 2 is not written in a form I would like to keep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to leave that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out my pi over 8. So remember, factoring out is like dividing out a pi over 8. So if you were to take a look at this, pi over 4 divided by a pi over 8. So if you were to divide that out, right, dividing by pi over 8 is the same thing as really like multiplying by its reciprocal. And that equals a 2. So this would be a, what is it, plus? Okay, and you can think about, like, you can go back through and like check your work. If you're going to multiply pi over 8, like through both of those, you would get a pi over 4. So you can see how that works out. All right, so my amplitude, again, is the absolute value of -1/2, which is a positive 1/2. My period is going to be a 2 pi divided by b, which in this case is going to be my coefficient of x, which is pi over 8. So that's a pi over 8. So again, I'll multiply by 8 over pi. Okay, so let's see, that's going to go to 1, that's going to be out, so that's going to equal a 16. I now do not have a vertical shift because I'm not adding or subtracting outside, but I do have a horizontal shift, which is going to be a left 2 units. Okay, so it's important to understand that Since I'm adding a 2 inside the function, that's going to be actually shifting my graph 2 units to the left. I'm not going to do both of these, but I'll just do this one. So find the equation for the inverse. So because again, the process is exactly the same, just really the numbers are different. So first thing you're going to want to do is swap the x and y's. So x equals a 12y minus 3. All right, now we're going to solve for y. And I'm going to use in my inverse operations. So I'll add a 3 equals a 12y, divide by 12, divide by 12. To distribute that to both of those, so x over 12 plus a 3 over 12 equals a y. Yeah, I don't, it's like way more delayed than usual. Okay, and now we'll just rewrite it back in our inverse operator, or actually y equation of the inverse. So just use our inverse notation. X over 12, I can rewrite that as a 1/12 x, and then 3 over 4 I can rewrite as a 1/4. And there you go. All right, evaluate the discriminant for the following equation, then use it to determine the number of distinct solutions and tell whether they are rational, irrational, or non-real. All right, so first thing you're going to want to do is actually set this equal to 0. So I have 4x squared plus 10x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so remember the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. All right, so let's go and do that. So we have a, so let's see, it's going to be 10 squared minus a 4 times a times c, which is negative 7, right? Because remember, this is ax squared plus abx plus c. All right, so we have 100. 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do 4 times, so negative times negative is a positive. So I already know this is going to be a positive number, right? So I'm going to add this. And then let's do 4 times 7 is going to be a 28. 28 times 2 is 56. Times 2 again is going to be 112. All right, so that's going to be a 212, which I am not aware of is a square number. So, right, because the only one I would have is, yeah, 15 times 15 is 225. Okay, so this is not square. It is positive. Okay, so if it's not square and positive, then we're going to have 2 irrational roots. Okay, now I did promise Chrissy I would go ahead and check your other 2 solutions, but I'm not sure if I'm hoping Google is going to let me back in to on this. So make sure it's not making me verify my identity to get into the to my Google Drive. So then I'll go and look into, because I don't know why I closed it down. All right. I'm going to see what other questions you guys had. So again, if you are joining too late, I do apologize, guys. I did not do my giveaway. I am having a little issue with Google, and of course it's happening during a live stream. So whatever may be the case. So I'll be doing it next week. So again, if you want to go ahead and enter in for a free giveaway for some tutoring, then you guys can go to last week's live stream and just go ahead and type in hashtag math help. You can also do it to this live stream. And after this live stream's done, not into the chat, because the live chat is completely different than the comments, but go to a comment once the stream is done, type in hashtag math chat. And then next week, I will do 2 giveaways for each of these live streams for you guys. Oh, wow. I did this with all that on there. Kind of forgot that I had that on there. All right. Come on. And then also just a quick reminder. Got that in there. Just remember, guys, if you have not already joined the Discord server, then go ahead and check that out. Also, if you have questions for next week, I'm not answering any more questions that have been submitted, but if you do have questions for next week, then I'll be more than happy to go ahead and go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and you guys can submit your questions there. And then last but not least, why am I adding these on there? Last but not least is I'm doing another live stream, guys, this week on Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time PM. And it is a free private live stream. Only 30 students letting in. So if you are going on taking pre-calculus and going to plan on be there, then definitely go ahead and check it out. All right. No, we'll go through. Where is? Let me see your question. All right, Chris, did you type your name on it? Hopefully, maybe. Let me just look in one more question I'm trying to get into. The graph on my page, I don't understand how to read it. Not sure if this is your question. Christy, you didn't type in your name, so I couldn't find you. Ah, it is you. Okay, I gotcha. All right, let's go through this last one. No, you didn't put your name on the form. So next time, do it if you want me to look for one, because I can look for it via names. This is kind of small, but I'll try to do my best. We'll see how fuzzy it looks when I expose it. I'm not teaching inside school. I used to teach at Mandarin High School in Jacksonville, but I don't teach at the high school level anymore. So I stepped away this year to focus on doing live streams on Sunday nights with you guys. Which I did when I was teaching too, but I would usually definitely quit this live stream by then, because waking up school, I can be a little bit, sometimes it can be a little bit better, even though I kind of had a little cold from this weekend. So it's not COVID. I did get tested for that, but all right. So I'll try to read this as best I can. It's kind of fuzzy, but we'll go from there. Determine the largest open interval of the domain over which the function shown in the graph below is increasing, decreasing, and constant. Then give the domain range. Okay, so it's important just to recognize, so when we're looking into identifying the domain, so let's actually talk about when the graph is increasing. The best way I like to kind of understand this is when think of it as like a roller coaster. Okay, so pretend you were I'm just going to say you're a little stick figure. Okay, and you're going from left to right. So as we're going from left to right, we're never really going up the graph, right? We're going down, sliding down, right? We kind of jump, we go from here to this point, right? But we're not really we're not following any points. It's literally not even like an elevator. It literally superimposes us from here right into there, right? So it's we didn't travel up. We just literally got sent up. And then we're going flat, and then we're going down. So it's never increasing. I'm not sure what your teacher is going from there. We'll look for B. When is it decreasing? Well, it's decreasing on the interval from negative infinity, right? Because all the way to the left is negative infinity. So it's decreasing on the interval from negative infinity all the way to the interval of -2. Okay, and I'm going to use open intervals because at -2, it's not really increasing or decreasing. It's it's just it's all the way to -2, and then from -2 looks like to 3, it's flat. And then from 3 to infinity, right? Because there's infinity, there's negative infinity. I should probably do it right there. The graph is going down, right? As you're walking from left to right, you're going down. So union, I'll say 3 to infinity. For C, when is the graph constant? Well, that's going to be between the values of -2 and 3, right? You can see from -2 to -3, we are +3, I'm sorry. We're just saying flat. Now let's talk about the domain range. So the domain is going to be basically what are all the values that the graph is defined for. So you can see this graph is going to negative infinity, right? And it's going to keep on expanding. So it's always going to be fine going to the left. Now, where it's undefined is where there's a gap, right? Where there's an asymptote, where there's holes. Now, in this case, you might say, oh, there's a hole or there's a gap. Yes, but the graph is defined at -2. Anything past -2, it's defined. Anything to the left of -2, it's defined. And even at -2, it's defined. Same thing at 3. There's a hole, gap, right? But the graph is defined at 3. Everything to the right is defined. Everything to the left is defined. And even at 3, it is defined. So this graph, the domain, is from -infinity to +infinity. And then if we're going to look at for E, and then we're going to look at E, what is the range? Now the range is a little bit different. The range is the set of all Y values. So what we can see here is this graph is defined here from, let's go from -infinity. So from -infinity all the way up to -2 is defined. So -infinity to -2, the graph is defined. Okay. But then there's a gap from -2 to looks like 1, or looks like 1/2. From -2 to -1/2, there's nothing going on, right? So it doesn't look like the graph starts again until 1/2 and then goes all the way up to infinity. So 1/2 to infinity. So again, just remember when we're dealing with the domain, that's the range, that's the x values, and when we're dealing with the range, that's going to be the y values. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you guys tonight. Again, I apologize for the giveaway. I will do that again next week. Again, all you guys need to do is go ahead and type in #mathhelp after this stream is over, and go ahead and do that in the comments for this week as well as for next week. And also remember, pre-calculus students, if you want to join me with pre-calculus, then go ahead and check on the link before. And if you have not joined the Discord server, then go ahead and check that out now. Everything's over there, so now I can do everything like that. Cool. All right, guys. Hope you have a great week and night. Cheers.